Hello, and welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Numbers chapter 20. Then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there, and was buried there, and there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moses, and spake, saying, Would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord? And why have you brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And wherefore have ye made us to come up out of Egypt, to bring us in unto this evil place? It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto them. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take the rod, and gather thou the assembly together, thou, and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of the rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, Because ye believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he was sanctified in them. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom, Thus saith thy brother Israel, Thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt, and we have dwelt in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice, and sent an angel, and hath brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city of the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left, until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with sword. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, and if I and my cattle drink of the water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people, and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. And the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh, and came unto Mount Hor. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor, by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter in the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because he rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up unto Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as the Lord commanded, and they went up unto Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. Summarizing Numbers chapter 20. So as far as the time goes, the last time update was in Numbers chapter 3, where that chapter occurred on the first month in the third year of the Israelites being out of Egypt. So we have not had any more timeline updates since then, so we could still be in the third year. So here, Numbers chapter 20, Israel is in the desert of Zin in the territory of Kadesh, Miriam died in verse 1. And so I want to just, Miriam was Moses and Aaron's sister, and she was the one after the Israelites, God split the Red Sea through Moses, holding his staff over the Red Sea. And it split. The Israelites were able to travel across the dry land safely, and then when the Egyptians came behind them attempting to pursue them, the waters converged on them and smote all of the Egyptians. So afterwards, to celebrate, Miriam brought her timbrel. She encouraged the other women to bring their timbrels, and they celebrated this victory with song and dance. And so this is one thing that when I hear, women were not supposed to be like men. So when David danced until he was undignified, David danced until all his clothes came off. That's not how Miriam praised God. And she was the first praise and worship leader. So I understand dancing like David danced, but I'm not a man. And women were not men. So just want to put that in there of who Miriam was and why she was important, and why, looking at how other women behaved in the Bible, should be an example. But Miriam danced. She danced. She didn't dance all her clothes off. She didn't dance her makeup off. She didn't dance until she was undignified. Miriam didn't have to do that. Her song and dance and her cute timbrel, that was enough. It was enough. So that's who Miriam was, the first praise and worship leader, a woman. Verse 2, there was no water, and Israel gathered themselves against Aaron and Moses. Verse 3, Israel laments, if only we had died with the others. Why did you bring us here that our cattle would die? Why take us from Egypt? This is an evil place. There are no figs, no vines, no pomegranates, and worst of all, there's no water. Verse 6, Aaron and Moses left the assembly and fell upon their faces. The glory of the Lord appeared to them. And then in verse 8, God tells Moses, take his rod, gather the assembly, and speak to the rock in front of everyone, that enough water will be produced for everyone and their cattle to drink. Verses 9 through 10. Moses and Aaron gathered everyone, but Moses hit the rock instead of speaking to it. And he hit the rock twice. God tells Moses and Aaron that they will not bring Israel to the promised land because of their disobedience and because they didn't trust God. Verse 13. This water is called Meribah, or quarreling. Verses 14 through 17. Moses sent messengers to the king of Edom to check in. He asked for permission to pass peacefully. So just want to point out that the idea of checking in today is, when someone says checking in now it's connected to dwelling in gang territory. If a territory is occupied by a gang member, you are supposed to check in by letting the leader know of your presence, and usually having to make a financial contribution in order to have a smooth visit. This same concept is still practiced in other sectors of our society. For instance, if you want to visit another country, you have to pay money for a passport. You have to, this lets the other country know of your presence so that you can have a safe travel. So the idea of checking in is as old as time itself. People are not just going to be granted access to dwell in territories, even though the earth really belongs to no one. So Moses sent messengers to the king of Edom to check in. He asked for permission to pass peacefully. Verse 18, Edom says no, and that they'll attack if Israel persists. Israel attempts to negotiate. And in verse 20, Edom repeats his emphatic no with a lot of energy. He brings out his people. The king of Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border. Verse 22, Israel left Kadesh and traveled to Mount Hor. Verse 24, Aaron should be gathered with his people. And so basically this is talking about he should go on with his relatives, dead relatives. Aaron can't enter the promised land because of his rebellion at Meribah. And verse 11, when Moses hit the rock. Verse 25, God instructs Moses to take Aaron and his son Eleazar to the top of Mount Hor, to strip Aaron of his garments and to put them on Eleazar because Aaron is going to die there. So Moses does what God says, Aaron dies, and Israel mourns Aaron for 30 days. So some of the highlights or some things I would like to point out. Verse 10, Moses says to the Israelites and to the rock, "Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water?" And then Moses hits the rock. So this is after the congregation was complaining about the lack of water and why did you bring us here to this evil place out of Egypt? And so when Moses seeks for an answer, God gives him the answer and says, "Speak to the rock," but instead he hits the rock. This phrase, "Hear now, ye rebels," this sounds like frustration and sarcasm. And so Joyce Meyer calls it stinkin' thinking when you're being negative. And this bad attitude, it spreads like wildfire. We also read in Exodus chapter 22, verse 28, "Thou shalt not revile the gods," or "Thou shalt not revile God," depending on what version you're reading, but I'm always reading from the King James Version. So, "Thou shalt not revile thy gods" with a little g, or "curse the ruler of the people." So, what this is saying in Exodus, this is a commandment. God was speaking in this verse. He was telling the Israelites, don't talk badly about your leaders, any of your leaders, whether it's management, whether it's your political leaders, whether they're your council, your Congress leaders. You're not supposed to be speaking badly against them because that negativity can affect them. And that's what seems like it happened here. These people were starting to complain again, and Moses has to go to God for another answer. That negativity spread like wildfire, and the leaders are affected because they already have the burden of having to communicate God's command to the people or to communicate other orders. That's what people don't realize about management. Anytime you have a leadership position or someone in leadership, they're usually communicating orders from somewhere else, which is why it's really unfair to treat them badly when they give orders, because that's usually not their orders. It's usually coming from somewhere else. And in this instance, these are directions that are coming from God. And we don't know if when Moses, started this whole thing with God, when God told him in the book of Exodus that he wanted him to be the leader of the people, we don't know if Moses knew that it would extend to this length of time and include his brother for this length of time. So it's a great sacrifice that he's doing, leading Israel, for his personal life. And he really does have the right intentions. And every time these people are questioning his intention because he's not able to produce the results as quickly as they would like for him to. And that's another thing about leadership. You always have to be the one to give an answer. And so just remember Exodus chapter 22, verse 28. "Thou shalt not revile the gods or curse the ruler of the people." The other thing that I want to keep pointing out, these Israelites that have a problem with Moses' leadership can leave at any time, but they don't. So when Moses had to strip Aaron of his garments in verse 24, and it says, "This is because you rebelled against my command," But when we look at Numbers chapter 14, Numbers chapter 14, verse 23 through 33, this is the first mention of God telling the Israelites that they wouldn't enter Canaan. So we also, Exodus chapter 4, verse 10 through 16, this is when God assigns Aaron to Moses, because Aaron is only a priest because of Moses' critically low self-esteem. Because Moses didn't believe he could talk well. He didn't believe he could speak well. He didn't believe he could be a good communicator. So God assigned Aaron to him. And so having no confidence can affect those around you. Aaron had to get involved because Moses doubted his ability. Aaron has to be directed by Moses by God through Moses. He has to become a priest with a uniform, complete rituals, and monitor skin conditions. And he lost 2 of his sons, and now he is dying after Moses' disobedience. And the only reason why he's even involved in this is because Moses has low self-confidence and doesn't believe that he could do things by himself just with God's leadership. The next thing I'd like to point out, Israel wanted to pass through King Edom's territory, and King Edom says no. So if Israel had gone to the Promised Land, this interaction would have never happened. Their negative attitude directly, this caused Israel to miss their opportunity. So your negative attitude, in addition to tarnishing your leaders and making your leader want to do something out of their nature, you'll also get other people involved that may be affected for that disobedience, for that negativity, and then you miss your opportunities because of negativity. I just listened to a message earlier about that. Missing your opportunity because you're negative. You speak negativity over your opportunities, and then you're not able to partake. It's the best word I can think of off the top of my head. Okay, well, that is Numbers chapter 20, and the next upload will be Numbers chapter 21. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.